relationship between a leader and a follower is tilted towards the follower. In other words, you can be leading, but nobody is following because they don't have to follow. It's their choice whether to follow or not. And so, in that relation, in a manager, the relationship tilts up towards the manager. In leadership, the power is with the follower. It therefore means there are certain characteristics you must have for people to follow you. One of them is trust. If you are not trustworthy, people will not follow you. Because remember, you are following them from the area of comfort to an unknown area. How will they agree to follow somebody whom they think might kill them along the journey? So the first important thing as a leader is, can you be trusted? Are you trustworthy? Are you consistent such that people know they can predict you and predict your future? If that's not true, you can be a manager, but you cannot be a leader. People must trust you to follow you. Number two, people must admire you. Not just trust you, but admire you. There must be something in the way you do things that makes them trust your ability to do something. Not just trust that you don't tell a lie, but trust your competence. And therefore, we say, if Nganga says that, we can believe it. And that will be very, very, very important. And that's why one of my books is Character. The character of an influential leader. That if your character has a fault, please just accept to become a manager. You will not become a leader because nobody will be with you. For example, in these days, one of the big subjects being talked about is the subject of sexual harassment. And women, over time, now have almost reaching to a half of leadership of people in a group of people. If, my friend, you are a kind of a man who cannot be trusted with women because you have a character flaw for women, my friend, you can be a manager, but you can never be a leader. No woman wants to be near you because he knows she cannot trust you. So you'll be there, people wondering, the guy is so competent. He is the best skill we have. But the team cannot go with you. And it has something to do with your character. And that will be a very, very important thing to deal with. You know, the biggest difference between managers and leaders is the way they motivate the people who work or follow them. And this sets the tone for most other aspects of what leaders do. Many people, by the way, are both managers and leaders. And that's the thing I wanted to say right at the beginning. When you talk about leaders, we are not saying you cannot be a manager. Leaders are also managers in certain aspects and leaders in other aspects. So many managers, like I was a manager with Shell before I retired, and I knew certain projects are better done with me as a leader rather than as a manager. And so I apply my leadership skills, not my management skills, in order to achieve it. You know, such a person has a management job, yes, but you realize that you cannot buy the hearts of people. The kind of thing you want them to do is so risky that now even if you command them, they'll resign. You need to get their buy-in. You need their heart so that they can follow you down a very difficult path. And therefore, you must act as a leader. Anybody who wants to take the business to a higher level through very risky methods will not be a manager. He needs to have leadership skill. By definition, managers have subordinates unless their title is honorary and given as a mark of seniority, in which case the title is a misnomer and their power over others is other than formal authority. If you are called a manager, you must have some subordinates because you are talking about managing people. Number two, managers have a position of authority. You know, it is vested in them by the organization or the company, and their subordinates work for them, and largely they do as the boss says. You know, when you are actually doing management, You are transactional in that you as a manager tell your subordinate what to do. And then the subordinate does this not because they admire you or because they are blind robots. No, it's because they have been promised a reward. At minimum, they know they will get a salary if they do what you are telling them to do. That's not leadership, that's management. And we are calling it transactional. You know, managers are known for focusing on work. Managers are paid to get things done through others. The reason we call you a manager is because there's something you want to achieve, and you can't achieve it on your own, you achieve it through others. And you have to do this sometimes within very tight constraints of time and money. Thus, naturally, you naturally pass to this work focus to your subordinates. You want them to be like you. But you know the truth? All managers are also subordinates. If you are the CEO, you are a subordinate of the board chairman or the board itself. So they also understand, even as they are managers, they also understand what it is to be subordinate. The other thing we note that wearing your manager's hat, it's been studies have shown, as a manager, you hardly want to take any risks because your work is to ensure everything is running properly. An interesting research finding about managers is that they tend to come from stable home backgrounds and lead relatively normal, comfortable lives. This leads them to be relatively risk averse, and they will seek to avoid conflict where possible. They want everything to work well. In terms of people, they generally like to run a happy ship. That's basically what management is. They don't want to take risk. They are risk averse. And leaders, you need to understand, do not have subordinates. Even if there are people called your subordinates, you stop treating them as subordinates. It means you start winning their hearts. So they don't do things because you told them. They do it because they are happy to do it. They want to do it. They understand where you are going and want to help you go there. Many organization leaders do have subordinates, however, but that's only because they are also managers. As leaders, they do not treat the people they work with as subordinates. And when they want to lead, they have to give up their formal authority over people, because then the people become their followers. Please understand that following is always a voluntary activity. So as long as people are doing something because you told them, those are called subordinates. You know, telling people, as leaders, telling people what to do does not inspire them to follow you. That's why you have to have another way of dealing with the people. Not to assume by telling them that you inspire them. But that's why we talk about charisma. And leaders need charisma in order to help the group, the team, to achieve and reach the goals. You know, you have to appeal to the people, showing them how following you will lead you to the heart's desire. So you buy the heart of the people as a leader, then you convince them that by working together with you, they will reach whatever the desire is. You know, leaders must want to follow, the followers must want to follow you enough to stop what they are doing and perhaps walk into danger at the situations that they would not normally consider risking in. That means trust, like I said at the beginning. Leaders will, with a stronger charisma, find it easier to attract people to their cause. Because now it is you as a person. Leadership is personal. They are following you, not just following the organization. As a part of of the followers' persuasion, they typically promise transformational benefits, such as their followers will not just receive extrinsic rewards, but will somehow become better people. So you must, as a leader, you must show your followers what is innate for them. Why are they going to commit to the project that you are talking about? And they need to see that this is not just a question of money. It's good for them. And that will be useful. Again, it's refused. My screen has okay. It has actually agreed to move. So they are always good with people. These leaders. You cannot be a good leader when you don't want to work with people. And one of the things you can note about people who lead is they understand they are not in control of people. So they appreciate when people voluntarily do things. And they give them credit. And sometimes they themselves take the blame on themselves rather than pass it on to the workers. This is very effective at creating the loyalty that great leaders engender. When people realize that you are not manipulating them, using them, that you acknowledge, even before the top leadership, you normally acknowledge the role that your team is playing. They want to play it. They want to follow you. They want to work with you because they know you are not using them to build your name. You are interested in them. Although leaders are good with people, I must mention that it does not mean they are just friendly with them. It's not a question of just being friends. They are a team trying to reach somewhere. In order to keep this mistake of leadership, they often retain a degree of separation and aloofness, but they still are free with them. This does not mean that leaders do not pay attention to tasks. In fact, they are often very achievement focused. You want to achieve, but you know you don't want to achieve alone. You want to achieve with a team. So you are still interested in the task, but what people sense is your interest in them. What they do realize, however, is the importance of enthusing others to work towards the vision of that, whatever the task happens to be in. So, what are we saying? We say that managers are not seen to be risk takers. Leaders, one of the ways of knowing somebody is a leader is he is a risk taker. But I'm not suggesting that they are blind thrill seekers. But you can't be a leader because the whole idea about leading is taking people to a vision, is taking people from the area of comfort to a better place, and it will involve risks. So if you just want everything status quo, nothing changes, then you'll be a manager but not a leader. Once you step into your leadership shoes, you have to take risks. But please don't take blind drill so that you just want to feel nice. When pursuing their vision, leaders consider it natural to encounter problems and handles that must be overcome along the way. Since they know they are going to a new place, a place even they themselves have not been there, but they have a vision of it, then clearly you understand that in the process there will be risks. One of the best leaders I know of is a guy called Martin Luther King Jr. I still remember in 1968, in my high school, one of my teachers in high school in 1968 was a Negro, a black American. He came to the parade ground, and as he was trying to announce something, he cried. We are not used as boys to adult men crying. He cried and wondered, how can a grown-up cry? And that's when he announced to us that Martin Luther King Jr. had been shot dead, I think the previous day. And so I got interested in him, and I have read quite a bit on him. In fact, yesterday I was listening to a speech by him. You know something? He was trying to tell the black people and the white people that something they could not imagine could happen. that we could stop seeing each other in colors and see each other as brothers. That we create a brotherhood. And obviously it sounds very strange, especially in the American South, where slave trade may have been proscribed, they had said there is freedom of slaves, but we are still treating them as slaves. But you know something? He told them, I may not get there with you, if you have listened to the speech. A leader must know that the team is taking risks. He took the risk and he took the bullet. But I want to propose to you that there would have been no the Kenyan American president, Obama, if there was no Martin Luther King Jr. It is the teachings, the process, the leadership of Martin Luther King through peaceful means of transforming a society that they were able to reach a level where they could vote majority of the whites, because the blacks are few. So the white are the ones who elected a black man, or at least half black man, to become the president of America. That's the kind of thing we are talking about. We are talking about clarity of vision, but also an understanding that there will be risks. By leading the group the way you are leading them, the board may end up firing you if things you don't achieve what you wanted to achieve. That's the risk you are taking. But if you achieve it, the organization will go places, the department will go places it will never have gone through management. And that's really what we are talking about. We are looking in an organization for people willing to take risks. Not blind drills, but calculated risks. Knowing very well that by taking that risk, they are going to have certain handles along the way. Leaders are thus comfortable with risk and will see routes that others avoid as potential opportunities for advantage, and will happily break rules in order to get things done. Some got this since they had either traumatic childhoods, and that's the unfortunate thing, that sometimes people who grew up with a silver spoon hardly become leaders. You know, you go to somebody like Obama, see his background, where he has been abandoned by his Kenyan father and forgotten. He has to come go looking for him. Where the mother moves out, you read history and you see the difficulties, and then you realize how he could take risks of even trying to become a president. So some of the reasons why some of your leadership come from your experience of challenges along the way, and understanding that challenges do not always swallow you. You can beat them. And with that kind of experience, you are able to inspire into your followers an ability to take risks. So maybe it was something traumatic that you went through, maybe some problems, maybe even a problem like dyslexia, some other short-term problem. What you are saying is that others were shorter than the average. That's interesting. In other words, you have a weakness physically, but that physically, like for the guy Hitler who wanted to lead the whole world, was a short, small guy. But sometimes that forces you to think out of the box. So your challenges in the past may help you to become the leader we are looking for. This perhaps taught you the independence of mind that is needed to go out on a limb and not worry about what others are thinking about. You got used to pulling your own weight. And my hope is that you think of this, and as I'm talking, you are thinking about yourself and asking yourself, is that something you do? Are you a leader or not? And I think that will be something that you need to talk. You need to talk about to yourself. We now want to break again, because I believe that adults don't like being talked to; they like participating. And so now, instead of learning from me, I want us to learn from one another. Please write on the chat box. I thought we would divide into groups, but we are a small group. so I thought we can do it together. As a person in charge of a project, when is a good time to play the role as a leader and when as a manager? I'm sure that question, as I've been talking, came to your mind. But instead of me giving you the answer, I want to hear the answer from you. You are leading a project. When is a good time to play the role as a leader? But there are certain times where you need to play the role as a manager. Tell us something about your background. Were your parents most of the time managers or leaders? Why do you say so? Because that part of the background that creates your leadership. I'm giving you 5 minutes to write that down. You have 5 minutes to write down in the chat. Everybody is expected to say something. If you say one thing only, if you can say more, it's okay. But let everybody say one thing per question. Then I'll read them loudly. Happy Kilongosi, am I clear?
Yes, you are.
So I'm not saying the question is easy, but you understand the question.
Yes.
Please write something. Please keep writing. The first one comes from Joshua. To play as a leader when people are tired and downcast and discouraged. If you can see your team is hardly interested in the project anymore, don't try to play the manager shouting at them. Try to influence them, to inspire them. But you play the role as a manager when you need to meet strict timelines, following specific guidelines and expertise. You are the same guy, but you can understand the situations may force you to act differently. Thank you very much, Joshua. You certainly are a leader. Patrick has another suggestion. If you have become a head of a new department, I hear Patrick say, leadership is required in setting the vision, the tone, the objective of the project or the department. And the management is when you are now running the show. That's what I hear him saying. Then Happy says, I'll play the leadership role at the onset of the project to get their buy-in. In the beginning, I'll be just a leader, Happy says, and then I'll play manager to execute the project. All these are fantastic ideas. Formware, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll play the manager's role at the beginning of the project. He agrees. And leadership follows into the execution of the project within the required timelines. Okay, that's a little different from the previous one. Michael Mwangi says, as a leader, during project inspection, to provide, as a leader to provide vision and role modeling. I think we need to start writing about your history. We don't know your mother, so you can tell us honestly what you felt of her. After all, yesterday was Mother's Day. Tell us about how you were brought up. What example did you see? The most influential leader we have in our family, in our life, is our mother and our father, of course. But those are leaders. Parents are leaders. How did they lead the family? Tell us. And then Michael Mwangi, Dennis Nyaga says, as a leader, I'll be a leader to keep the team motivated during volatile time. As a manager, to instill discipline in meeting the objective. Then Mase Duo says, when certain members are not achieving milestones as per set timelines, you have to be a manager. But when the project fails, as a leader, you now act as a leader. You do not apportion blame. Michael Mwangi also says, as a manager, to establish effective organizational structure and ensure effective time management and effectiveness and efficiency. I'll play the role as a manager. Anything about the parents and the kind of people they were and why? Now, most likely, many of you are parents, so we are not asking you about your parenting. We are asking about how you are parented yourself. These are very good lessons we are learning from one another. Anything additional you want to put? Moremi, I have not seen your comment, unless you called yourself by a different name. Moremi, do you want to comment? Yeah, Joshua again has led well. He says, my parents acted as leaders, gave me time to voice out my concerns, and guided me to ensure I am led to fulfill my dreams. Wow. That is called leadership. That's not management. And you had good parents. But sometimes they require to be managers. Esther Karegi says, my mother was a leader, giving us direction and hope. When things were tough, she always saw the bigger picture, the future desired state. That's what she contributed to the family. That is certainly leadership. Then Esther goes on to say, she was a manager when discipline was needed. She did not spare the rod. She was a Bible woman. Anybody else? Those are very good things. So, by asking the second question, I wanted you to understand you are a leader in the office. You must also understand the same principles we are learning in this workshop must be the same principles you apply at home. If you have one set for the office, another set for home, it means you don't understand the value of leadership. Happy says, the parents were leaders in the way they lived, but managers properly to follow their example. They were role modeling, which is leadership. Anybody else? We have to be finishing, but those are very, very good contributions. I want to finish by running through a list, comparing a manager and a leader. The first column gives you the subject, on which issue. What does a manager do on each issue? What does a leader do? In a sense, when you are dealing with change management, and it will be discussed in later in the workshop, the sense of leadership is managing change. So you need to use leadership skills to get people from where they are to where they should be. But when you're acting as a manager, obviously, your essence is creating stability, getting things done, remaining within structure. What about the focus of a leader? His focus is leading people, and I've said that in my introduction. His focus is on people. He believes that by focusing on people, the task will automatically be done. One, there is a commitment and a kind of an admiration for him and trust. That's where he should spend most of his time, getting trust, getting people to understand the vision. The actual day-to-day doing, the people will not require his supervision. They are committed to doing it. What about the manager? Manager's main focus is managing the work, getting things done. What do leaders have? I said so at the beginning, they have followers. What about managers? They have subordinates. Again, let's look at the issue of horizon. What is their view, long-term view? My friend, as a leader, if you want to look at the long term of the organization, you must stop playing the role of a manager. A leader thinks far into the future and starts investing in his people on preparing for that future. But a manager is thinking of the annual general meeting and ensuring there will be a good report to the shareholders, short term. What's the leader seeking? The leader is seeking vision. That's what you cannot be called a leader unless you are the carrier of the vision for the department, the carrier of the vision for the project, the carrier of the vision for the department, for the organization. So you are thinking about the long-term vision when you are playing the role of a leader. But as a manager, you think about the various objectives, not the long-term vision, but the various objectives that your team must achieve for this year. How does a leader approach things? His approach is setting direction. I feel my responsibility is setting direction. The actual day-to-day, once there is a commitment, the followers will take care of it. But I must set direction. But the manager is involved in planning details of what is happening. He is in control of the people, so he plans their details. In decision making, a leader does not want to make the decision. He wants to facilitate. Everybody feels, when as a leader, you start when they start saying, this is the leader's vision. By the time you are the kind of leader we are trying to get by the end of this week, people no longer credit you for the project. They call it our project. Start with the leader's project. That's not a good place to be. They must work to the level where everybody is not supporting the leader. They feel this is our thing. When they win, all of us have won. So the leader sees them as facilitating the decision making. Everyone feels like they made the decision. But in a management, he is the one who makes the decision. The subordinates follow. What about power? The power that a leader uses is not formal authority. It's personal charisma. People accept you, admire you, trust you, and that's what gives you power over them. But for management, don't you know I'm your boss? The boss arrives and everybody goes quiet because of his authority. A leader arrives and they're asking you questions. They are showing you what is happening. They are bringing in ideas. They are suggesting. They feel they are part and parcel of where the ship is going. And that is something very, very important for you to understand. And that's what you'll be trying to do. My time is up, but since after break we will still have time, I'll take a bit of time and do the other few cards comparing management and leadership, and encourage everybody to see themselves more and more playing the role of a leader rather than a manager, except when management is the only way of getting things done. The meeting is back to you, Dr. Juru.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nganga. At this point, we'll take a 15 minutes break guys go grab some water or some